I have a cunning plan. Well, I don't actually have a cunning plan, but I just wanted to reference Baldric in Blackadder. Now, for all people who outside the UK who don't know who or what Blackadder was a television series starring Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean. You probably know of Mr. Bean, and Tony Robinson, who played his sidekick Baldric. And quite often in the series, at the 11th hour, just before disaster struck, Baldric would say, "I have a cunning plan." I think everybody's got to have a plan. I have a plan, even though I lead a very, very simple, slow life in retirement without too much pressure. I do have a plan. I don't just roll out of bed in the morning, take my old man tablets, grab my arthritic little dog and fall out of the front door to start my day randomly, not knowing what's going to happen next. Up there, consciously or subconsciously, there is a plan. In the workplace, a lot of people will go out to climb the corporate ladder, to better themselves, to make more money for the family and advance the career, which is great. But it's also great if you don't want to do that, but it's horses for courses. But what you realise is that with that work ethic comes pressure. And if you just stumble into life, if you just stumble into a job without a pre-thought out plan, it's going to be so difficult, because every hurdle that comes to you predetermined is hard enough, but then the day brings random problems, doesn't it? So you need a plan, and it may be a subconscious plan, but you can't just go out and just face life with a complete blank sheet. It would be nice if we have to, but then we would get problems would compound problems because we wouldn't have a solution ready in our heads. And being on the corporate ladder brings stress. You think about that. This stress is passed down. You've got this like a CEO who's getting pressure off, let's say, shareholders. He then puts more pressure on the people below him, the managers, who then go and put pressure on the line managers, who then got pressure on the people on the shop floor and the office floor. And the thing is, that starts off with one CEO, passing it on to a couple of managers, passing it on to a few more, passing it on down the line. And this pressure increases exponentially from one point at the top of an organisation. We then end up with a workforce under pressure. There are so many people across the world in therapy. There are so many people across the world on medication. And a lot of this is just societal pressures that we accept because it's all part and parcel of making our salary. I've got family. Both my children have got quite high pressure jobs in education. And I know they go under stress, especially my son, because I don't think my son actually copes with that as well as my daughter. But they're fine and they're getting on with life. But you can't just go into life without a plan every single day. Once we start setting ourselves goals during the day, during our career, just during our life, during our family life, once we start setting ourselves goals, we start stretching ourselves out of our comfort zones, and that's quite natural. It's a natural human urge to push yourself out of your comfort zone. But once you start doing that, you're actually on a road to discomfort. So it has to be controlled, doesn't it? Otherwise, it just runs away like a roller coaster. And I think we've seen this so often with so many people. I think most of us will know someone in our friend group, in our peer group, who has chased that and then it's taken over. And I've known people in the past in my life where you can actually see them unravelling before your eyes because they've got caught up into a maelstrom, into a whirlwind of pressure, and the more you get into it, the more difficult it is to get out, because not only are you under pressure yourself, but you are being put under pressure, especially at work, by people above you who don't care for your well-being. Why should they? They've got their own goals, they've got their own plans, they've got their own targets, and you are just a means towards satisfying their goals. Yes, every day we go out and we treat it as if we're under an obligation to excel, to acquire, to beat our peers, to be the best, to climb the ladder. And do we know why we're doing that, or do we just do it? Perhaps it's just as important to prioritise your health as much as anything else, and not just your physical health, because I think a lot of people nowadays are going to the gym and they're looking after their bodies, but we need to look after our mental health as well. And a lot of people are aware of this, and a lot of people do kind of make steps, but it always seems to be lower down on the list of priorities. I think it's neglected, and it's an insidious thing that mental health issues, you don't see them coming. They're not there. You don't look in a mirror and see them. It's not a scar to heal. You ignore it. You think it's just a way of life, it's just a bit of pressure. But it's not, it's insidious. And it destroys families, destroys individuals. So I think we should, even if we're climbing that corporate ladder, we need a plan. We need a plan for the day. We need, so much a plan, it's like a subconscious plan, a way of approaching life where you kind of try to divert pressure, alleviate pressure, be in a better mindset. Don't just kind of go into the day a blank slate, just waiting for problems to hit you and then trying to sort them out on the hoof, because that ain't going to work. Because what happens then is you kind of reach decisions very, very quickly, and then because life's going at such a pace, you reach decisions and solutions so quickly, and then you put those into operation. If they're not the right decision, then all that does is compound the issue. If you've got a problem to solve at work and you just put the pressure onto someone else, that's taking it off your shoulders. As far as you're concerned, that's solved your problem. You can tick that box. But all you've done is given somebody else a problem. And we shouldn't be here to do that, should we? We shouldn't be here. We shouldn't, as human beings, have that much influence on somebody else that you can actually cause them worry, distress and stress. We shouldn't really, should we? Not if we're empathetic, and I think most of us are, aren't we? Now, I knew a bloke years ago, he was actually my boss, and he'd come up from absolutely nothing. He'd come up from pretty much abject poverty, and he worked hard, got his own company and made a lot of money. But it was kind of this money obsession he had. And I remember him saying to me one day, I've got a mate, he's really successful. He's really successful, he's got this big house, he's got a couple of cars, he's flying off on holiday, he's got a villa in France, he's really successful. And I remember saying to him, I'm successful because I'm happy. Am I wrong in saying that? Well, I don't think I am, because I am happy. So I am proof of the pudding. And nobody can take that away from me. And I'm happy having nothing or having little. I don't think it would suit me to have a lot, to have more. I don't do well with clutter. I'm a simple man, and that means I don't do well with clutter. I don't do well with too much. I don't want too much money. I don't want money, because it brings its own problems. It brings more clutter to my life. Keep it simple. I've got everything I need. I can afford the food. I've got my little dog for the moment, and I'm happy. And because I'm happy, I think I'm successful. But I've always had a plan. I have always had a plan. Did I know I had a plan? I don't know. Was I aware I had a plan? I don't know. But I think I always had a plan. I always looked at life as my chess opponent and tried to keep a couple of moves ahead. It didn't always work. Hence the disastrous times I've had in parts of my life, just like everyone else on the planet. Have a plan. Live happy. This is fabulous. There's like a mist. It's damp. The air's very damp. We're coming into autumn. It's incredibly still. There's nothing at all moving. There's grey in the sky. There's no blue. All I can hear is birds over to my left slightly in the distance. And a crow has just called out in the trees up here. And there's a dog. I can hear a dog barking somewhere in the distance. And Molly's wandering off slowly while she sniffs. She likes this weather because I think the mildness, the warmth brings out the smells. And that keeps her happy because she's a sniffer dog. She spends her life sniffing. So she's happy. And she's not got anything. Molly's got no, she's only got me. And she's happy. Perhaps we should take a leaf out of nature's book, eh? Anyway, we shall see you all on the flip. Have a good day. Peace and love.